The afternoon sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the empty ranch road. Dust drifted lazily through the warm air every time the wind brushed across the dry fields. The land stretched endlessly on both sides of the road, broken only by wooden fences, patches of brittle grass, and the occasional lonely tree standing against the horizon. Beside one of those fences sat a little girl. She was small, no older than 6, with tangled brown hair that fell messily around her face. Her light blue dress was dusty from sitting on the ground, and her small shoes were half buried in the loose dirt near the fence post. Her name was Lily. She hugged her knees tightly to her chest, rocking slightly as quiet sobs escaped her trembling lips. Tears rolled down her cheeks, leaving thin streaks through the dust that clung to her skin. Every few moments she lifted her head and looked down the long road stretching into the distance. But no one was coming. The road had been quiet for a long time. Earlier in the day, a few vehicles had passed by. A pickup truck slowed once, the driver staring at her with confusion. A woman in the passenger seat whispered something, and the truck continued driving. Another car passed an hour later. The driver glanced at her, frowned slightly, and drove on. No one stopped. Lily wiped her face with the sleeve of her dress and sniffled softly. Her small stomach growled, but the feeling of hunger was nothing compared to the fear slowly growing inside her chest. "I'm scared," she whispered quietly to herself. The wind answered with a dry rustling sound through the grass along the fence. She looked down at the ground and traced small circles in the dust with her finger, trying to distract herself from the growing silence around her. Her mother had told her to wait there. "Stay right here," she had said earlier that morning while stepping out of their old car parked nearby. "I'll be right back." Lily had nodded obediently. She was a good girl. She always listened. At first she waited patiently, swinging her legs while sitting on the fence rail. The sun had been higher then, bright and warm above the hills. But minutes turned into hours. The car her mother had arrived in was gone now. The road remained empty. Lily didn't understand why. She hugged herself tighter as another gust of wind blew dust across the ground. Her small shoulders trembled. Then, far away across the hills, a new sound appeared. Hooves. Slow and steady, Lily lifted her head, her tearful eyes searching the road. A figure slowly appeared at the top of the hill, a tall horse walking calmly along the trail, guided by a rider sitting confidently in the saddle. The cowboy wore a wide hat that shaded his face, and the sunlight reflected off the silver buckle on his belt as he rode closer. His name was Cole Turner. Cole had spent most of his life working cattle across these lands. Every road, fence, and hill was familiar to him. The quiet rhythm of ranch life had taught him to notice small things others often missed. And right away, something didn't look right. As his horse walked closer, Cole spotted the little girl sitting beside the fence. He slowed the horse immediately. Kids didn't sit alone on deserted ranch roads. Cole studied the scene carefully. No nearby house, no parked vehicle, no adults, just a little girl sitting alone in the dust. "Easy now," he murmured to his horse, gently pulling the reins. The horse slowed to a stop a few feet away from the fence. Lily looked up, her red eyes widening as she saw the tall cowboy above her. For a moment neither of them spoke. The wind moved softly through the grass again. Cole removed his hat for a moment and wiped his forehead before placing it back on his head. Then he leaned slightly forward in the saddle, his voice calm and gentle. "Well now," he said kindly. "That's a mighty lonely place for a little one to be sitting." Lily wiped her face quickly, trying to stop crying. Cole glanced down the empty road again. Still no sign of anyone coming. His jaw tightened slightly. He had a feeling this was going to be more than a simple conversation. And deep down, he already knew one thing for certain. He wasn't riding away. Cole crouched down beside the fence, making sure he wasn't towering over the little girl. Years of working with skittish horses had taught him something important. You had to move slowly around frightened creatures. Children weren't much different. Up close, he could see how small she really was. Dust clung to her dress, and her cheeks were still wet with tears. Her hands were clasped tightly together in her lap as if she were trying very hard to stay brave. "You got a name, kiddo?" Cole asked gently. The girl sniffled and nodded. "Lily." "Well, Lily," he said with a small smile, "that's a mighty pretty name." She glanced at him nervously, then at the horse standing quietly nearby. The animal shifted its weight and flicked its tail, but remained calm. "Is that your horse?" she asked softly. Cole nodded. "Sure is. His name's Ranger." Lily stared at the horse for a moment. For the first time since Cole had arrived, the fear in her eyes softened slightly. "He's big," she whispered. Cole chuckled lightly. "He thinks he's bigger than he really is." Ranger snorted gently, as if disagreeing. The small moment helped ease the tension, but Cole still had questions that needed answers. "So tell me something, Lily," he said kindly. "Where are your folks?" The little girl looked down at her shoes again. She dragged the toe of one shoe through the dust slowly. "My mom told me to wait here." Cole frowned slightly. "Wait here?" She nodded. "She said she had to go get something." Cole leaned back slightly against the wooden fence, thinking carefully about his next question. "Did she say where she was going?" Lily shook her head. "No." "How long ago was that?" The girl looked up at the sky for a moment, squinting as if trying to measure the time. "When the sun was over there," she said, pointing toward the hills. Cole followed her finger. The sun had been in that position earlier in the morning. That meant she'd been sitting here for hours. His stomach tightened a little. "You been here all day?" he asked gently. Lily shrugged. She said not to move. The wind blew across the road again, lifting small swirls of dust around them. Cole stood slowly and walked a few steps down the road, scanning the horizon. No cars. No houses nearby. No sign anyone had been there recently. If her mother had left earlier, she should have been back by now. Unless something had gone wrong. Cole rubbed his chin thoughtfully before walking back toward the fence. Lily was watching him carefully, her eyes full of uncertainty. "You gonna leave too?" she asked quietly. The question caught him off guard. Cole knelt down again so he was eye level with her. "No, ma'am," he said firmly but kindly. "I'm not leaving you out here." Her shoulders relaxed slightly, though she still looked worried. "My mom said I had to wait," she whispered again. Cole nodded slowly. "And you did exactly what she asked," he said. "That was the right thing to do." Lily studied his face as if trying to decide whether she could trust him. Cole reached into the saddlebag hanging from Ranger's side and pulled out a metal water bottle. "Here," he said, offering it to her. "You look like you could use a drink." Lily took the bottle carefully and drank quickly. When she finished, she wiped her mouth and handed it back. "Thank you," she said politely. Cole tipped his hat slightly. "You're welcome." He looked down the road once more before turning back to her. "I've got a ranch not too far from here," he said. "We can head there and call the sheriff. They'll help find your mom." Lily hesitated. "You promise?" Cole gave her a steady look. "I promise." Then he stood up and gently lifted her onto Ranger's saddle. "Hold on to that horn," he instructed. The little girl wrapped her small hands around the saddle horn tightly. Cole climbed up behind her, steadying her with one arm. As Ranger began walking slowly down the dusty road, Lily looked back at the fence where she had been sitting alone just minutes earlier. The wind blew across the empty spot again, erasing the small footprints she had left in the dirt. But this time, she wasn't alone anymore. Ranger's steady hooves echoed softly against the hard dirt road as the sun slowly dipped lower in the sky. The warm orange light stretched across the wide ranch lands, painting the fields and fences in long golden shadows. Lily sat carefully in front of Cole in the saddle, her small hands gripping the saddle horn while Cole's arm rested securely around her to keep her steady. At first she had been nervous about riding the tall horse, but Ranger's slow and gentle steps quickly made her feel safe. They rode quietly for a while. Lily occasionally glanced back at the road behind them, the place where she had spent the afternoon sitting alone by the fence. Now it was just a distant line of dust fading into the horizon. Cole noticed her looking back. "You all right there?" he asked gently. Lily nodded, though her voice sounded small when she spoke. "Are we almost there?" "Just up that hill," Cole said, pointing ahead. As Ranger climbed the small slope, the Turner Ranch slowly came into view. Lily's eyes widened. The ranch house stood at the center of a wide stretch of land, surrounded by barns, fences, and open pastures where cattle moved lazily through the tall grass. A red barn stood near the house, and several horses grazed peacefully in a nearby field. "It's big," Lily whispered. Cole chuckled softly. "Sometimes too big for one cowboy." They rode through the front gate and up the dirt driveway until Ranger stopped near the wooden porch. Cole climbed down first and carefully lifted Lily from the saddle, setting her gently on the ground. Her legs wobbled a little from the unfamiliar ride, but she quickly steadied herself. She looked around with quiet curiosity. Chickens wandered across the yard, clucking softly. A barn cat stretched lazily on the porch steps, watching the newcomers with mild interest. "It's nice here," Lily said. Cole gave a small nod. "Been home a long time." He led her inside the ranch house, where the cool air felt comforting after the long ride. The kitchen smelled faintly of coffee and wood smoke, and sunlight streamed through the window above the sink. Lily sat at the table while Cole poured her a glass of milk and placed a small plate of crackers in front of her. "Go ahead," he said. She hesitated for a moment before taking one, nibbling slowly. Cole walked over to the phone hanging on the wall and dialed the county sheriff's office. "Daniels," the voice answered on the other end. "Sheriff, it's Cole Turner," he said. "I found a little girl sitting alone by County Road 8. There was a short pause. "How long's she been there?" the sheriff asked. "Looks like most of the afternoon." Another pause followed. "I'll head your way," Daniels replied. Within half an hour, a dusty patrol truck pulled into the yard. Sheriff Daniels stepped out and removed his hat as he walked onto the porch. His serious expression softened when he saw Lily sitting quietly at the kitchen table. "She's the one?" Daniels asked quietly. Cole nodded. "Name's Lily." The sheriff knelt beside her. "Well, hello there, Lily," he said kindly. "I'm Sheriff Daniels." Lily looked up nervously. "Are you going to find my mom?" she asked. The sheriff glanced briefly at Cole before answering gently. "We're going to try our best." Over the next few days, the sheriff searched nearby towns and highways, following every lead he could find. But Lily's mother never came back. When the truth finally became clear, the news was hard to hear. One evening, Lily sat on the porch steps watching the sunset when Cole joined her, sitting down beside her. "She's not coming back, is she?" Lily asked quietly. Cole took a slow breath. "It doesn't look like it." The little girl stared out at the fields for a long moment. "Did I do something wrong?" Cole felt his chest tighten. He shook his head firmly. "No, sweetheart, you didn't do anything wrong." Lily leaned slightly against his arm. "Am I going back to that road?" Cole looked out across the ranch. The barns, the horses, the wide open land that had always felt a little too quiet. Then he looked down at the small girl beside him. "No," he said gently. "You're not." Weeks later, the county arranged temporary guardianship while longer plans were discussed. But something unexpected happened during that time. The once quiet ranch filled with laughter, small footsteps, and bedtime stories. And every time Cole rode past the dusty road where he first saw Lily crying beside that lonely fence, he remembered how easily he could have kept riding. How simple it would have been to assume someone else would stop. But he hadn't. And because of that one choice, a little girl who once cried alone in the dust now had a place to call home.